Good morning. This is just going to be me sketching and babbling at you video, as most of my videos are. And basically I'm doing some warm-up sketches. I've got a few paintings to finish. I was at a convention this weekend, Quinty Toy Con, which was super fun. Very nice one-day show within the Belleville area, Belleville, Ontario. And like the people who run the show are just super, super nice, and they always put on a really good show. And it's affordable. Like you don't have to break the bank to go to it, which is super nice. Yeah, so I've got a couple of paintings I need to get the sketches done for today, and I've got to figure out how to draw a mural, because apparently I've got a customer that I did some artwork for at the show that wants me to do a mural at his cottage, which is kind of cool. I don't know if it'll go through just because of like how far away it is, and I'm gonna have a lot of expenses that have to be covered, so that's just, it's neither here nor there. It'll be fun if I can do it, but I don't actually think it's going to be something I will be able to do, just due to the amount of cost involved off the top. That isn't even me doing artwork. So one thing I did want to talk to you guys about is pricing art. I know it's one of those things that everyone kind of talks about, and like I always struggle with it. Like at conventions I do incredibly cheap drawings, and the only reason that I do drawings as cheap as I do is that I can draw fast. So I know I can turn out, like, if I had to, I could turn out like 10 to 15 pieces in an hour. So if I was doing like just straight sketches, I could do a lot in 1 hour, depending on what the sketches were and how involved they were. But you have to be able to look at how fast you're working, where you are, like what is the clientele base. If you're at a convention, especially the smaller shows, people kind of bring a set amount of money, and if you make your artwork affordable for them, they're going to come back to you. And I've had people come back to my table 3, 4, 5 times for just simple sketches, and that's like, after adding all of that up, it's almost like $25-$30 for one person. So if you can get repeat business like that, and you don't make your stuff so super expensive at conventions and shows, you will get repeat business. But when you're selling your art online and you're doing commissions online, something that you're going to be working a long time on, make sure that you're not selling yourself short, because you want to be like taken seriously as an artist. And I've had a lot of bad experiences with people that want my art and want me to do art for them, like professionally, but they don't want to pay me. They're like, oh, you'll get paid when I get paid, or when this goes off, you'll be like the first one to get paid. Well, that's not how business works. You're not going to say to like a carpenter, oh, you're going to get paid when like I see the work done. And if like you're any other job, that wouldn't fly. People do work, and you are providing a skill, like a plumber, a electrician, a carpenter. Like I said, you are providing a skill set that somebody needs, and they should pay you for it. So you have to look at how fast you work, the level of which your art is. That it's kind of a shitty thing to say, but you have to look at like where your skill set lies, and like how long you have behind you working on that skill set, and how much money you've put into learning all of your abilities. And then you have to figure out, okay, how long it's going to take you to do a project, and price out accordingly. I always start with my materials. If I don't have, like if I'm doing a painting for someone, like a big painting on canvas, materials are the first thing that go into the equation of how much it's going to cost the person for a painting. So if I'm stretching my own canvas, it's a little bit cheaper, but if I'm buying a canvas, it's a lot more expensive. It's like, to get a 5x5 canvas square, it'll be over $50 for sure. It could be upwards of $100. Like, it depends. Like, you have to really look at your cost, and then you have to look at your cost of paint. What kind of paint are you using? You are going to want to use archival quality paints or professional artist quality paints, especially if you're selling artwork. So that's a cost that you have to work in. Like, you obviously get big tubes of paint or buckets of paint, but you have to work in the average cost of what that paint is going to cost you for that image. So that's kind of a thing. And then you can do wear and tear on your brushes and stuff if you want as well. Like, usually most artists have their brushes already ready, but sometimes you always just like add in like an extra 5 to 10% on the top of whatever your supplies total is, and that's just to cover wear and tear on your equipment. Now, you have to look at how long it takes you to plan your drawing or your painting, the actual process. If there is a revision stage, revisions, I'm sorry if I spell things wrong, I'm actually horrible at spelling. Like, you have to look at like these 3 things, like how long it takes you to figure out the sketches. Does the client want you to revise anything? And sometimes you really have to be a stickler, like you get 2 revisions or 3 revisions and that's it, because people will keep sending you back to revise and revise. Now you're 2 weeks into a project or 2 months into a project that only should have taken you 2 weeks. So you have to really make sure that you give them an allotted amount of revisions, and any revision after the allotted amount is an extra cost. And as soon as you put a dollar amount on something, people will smarten the hell up. And then how long is it going to take you to actually finish this thing? You have to look at your timeline. You have to actually break down your time and say, okay, if I only work on this job this week, I need to make this amount of money. Now, sometimes people will be like, oh, well, that's too expensive. And if you want the job, you can lower your cost a little, but always make sure that you are covering your bases. Always cover your supplies. 100% cover your supplies. Make sure you really write yourself a contract, spell out that they can only have like 2 or 3 revisions to the piece, and then it's going to cost X number of dollars per revision. And then in your planning stages, try and make sure that do your planning stages when you don't have to be doing, like if you're working on other pieces at the same time, you can do planning like composition and stuff. You can just do that over coffee if you wanted, depending on the size of your plan or what you're doing. But like when you go to work on your big sketches, then that's when you bring them into your actual work day. But if you're just doing like sketches and trying to figure out some ideas, do that while you're watching TV, do that while you're like eating breakfast, do that in your spare time and not on your work time. Like if you're just doodling to generate ideas for a project, it'll save you time in the long run, and then you're not wasting your work hours on scribble bits. Okay, so just make sure that you're covering, like, if it takes you 4 days to do something, make sure you're getting compensated for those 4 days. Make sure that what you're making in those 4 days, if it's $100 a day, $100 a day is $500 a week, which is $2,000 a month if you're working like only 5-day weeks. Usually people work 7, but yeah, if you break it down as like, I have an 8 to 10 hour day, I want to make $150 a day. It took me 4 days to do this project, so my cost is going to be 500, or sorry, not 500, it'll be 600. That's just my process cost, and then you add in your extras. So if you're doing a certain painting, like a 5x5 painting, you add in what your process time is, your supply costs, add your 5% to your supplies, not the overtop because that'll be huge. And then once you write up your contract saying this is what it's going to take, this is what it's going to be, and then revision costs. And if you need upfront money to get your supplies, make sure that you write that into the contract, that you need X number of dollars to start. Like, it's really hard when you're trying to get work and you're a young artist and you're really excited. I've had it happen to me where people are just like, I didn't discuss contracts, I didn't discuss payment plans, and I got screwed out of a lot of money. I work very fast and very well. It means I shouldn't be very cheap, but I've had to go cheap on certain things. So it's just one of those things you have to always keep in mind. And when people start like balking at you, like, oh, it's going to be that much, well, I can get it done by this person for cheaper, just be like, well, these are my costs associated with how much time it's going to take and everything. And make sure that you can look up online art contracts and like different freelance contracts, and they will give you a basis as to what you can, like how you can write up your own contract for artwork. It's a lot of people don't expect artists to know business, and one of the best assets you can have as a young artist, and I wish I would have listened to my father because he was very right on this, is you need to know the business end of things, because once you know business, you will go a lot farther than anybody else in your field, because you will be able to manipulate the market for your own gain and know when you're getting screwed by someone, and always work into your contract to have a certain percentage of your final payment up front. Always have an upfront payment. Don't start work until you've been paid a portion, and then they can pay you the rest after you're done. That's very important. A lot of artists don't take upfront payment. They do all the work, and then the people never pay them or never contact them again. It's a scary story, and it's shitty that it happens, but it does happen, and be aware of that. Just really be aware. Like, I know everyone tries to be happiness and butterflies, but you know what? You have to like watch out for those people that are going to screw you over, and that's one of the biggest things that I'm always looking for, is someone trying to screw me over or screw me out of what I am owed. And it pisses me off, but that's what happens, because these people think, well, you just did that in like 5 minutes, I should only have to pay this. Well, I think it was Picasso. A guy asked him for a drawing on a napkin in a cafe. He asked him for a drawing, so Picasso did the drawing, and then Picasso said, that's $1 million. And the guy said, but you just took 5 seconds to do that. It took no time to do that drawing. Why are you charging me that much? And Picasso said, it took me 20 plus years to learn how to draw that fast and to draw that well. So you are paying for that. Like, it's not that it took me this long, it's how long it took me to learn how to do that, and not many people can do that. So you need to look at how long it takes you to do something and how long you've spent learning it, and make sure that you build that into your cost. Obviously, you're not going to like charge one customer like $1 million unless it's a massive project that you're undertaking, but it's making sure that you're properly compensated for the work that you do and not letting people take advantage of you. And if that's the only thing you take away from this video, that's wonderful, because that's the most important part of this video, is like, you do not get taken advantage of by people who want your art and want your skills but do not want to pay for them. So I think I'm going to end that video at 15 minutes. Oh gosh. Sorry it was so rambly and long and I didn't really draw anything of substance, but hopefully you've taken away something good from it. Anyway, talk to you later. Bye.